Alright, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Shout out to Leora. She's gone. But shout out. Okay, here we go into 5-3. As always, I encourage you to pause the video and read carefully. Okay? So what you read about here was two different ways to come up with an equation for this situation. Carlos thought, okay, he found the y-intercept, which is a really good idea. It's what we've been doing in our class a lot. If we have 0 cats, then we can have room for 15 dogs. Okay? And then he thought, well, for every dog, let's see, for every dog that I can get 4 more cats. So that is, we're going to go down, let's see, by -1/4. And if you can't even tell, this would be a hard thing for you guys to figure out on your own. You'd have to do some, find 2 points and identify what the slope was. Okay? Clarita used a new method which is called standard form, okay? And that's when we have integers multiplying by our numbers, adding up to be a whole number. And so for this problem, I think this equation in standard form is an easier way to understand it. We need 6 square feet per cat. We need 24 square feet for each dog, and 360 is how many square feet we have. Okay? Since both equations represent the same information, they must be equivalent to each other. Show the steps to turn Claritas into Carlos's. So Claritas was y equals, let me make sure this is right. No, Claritas was 6x plus 24y equals 360. 6x plus 24y equals 360. Well, we want to make it into Carlos's. At the end of Carlos's, he had y equals. So we need to solve this thing for y. Okay, we're going to subtract 6x from both sides. And we get 24y equals now. That's a positive 360. Since we want it in mx plus b form, I'm going to write it like that. Okay? Divide each side by 24. I got to divide everything over here by 24. And you get y equals -1/4. 6 over 24 reduces to -1/4. And 360 divided by 24 is 15. So you get the same equation that Carlos had. Now, how can we turn Carlos's equation into Clarita's? Well, we're going to start with this. So let's see. What can we multiply everything by? Well, I know that we eventually want to have a 24y. Let's add 1/4 x to both sides. So you get y plus 1y plus 1/4 times x equals 15. Well, over here, we want to have a 360. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 24. Why did I choose 24? Because I think that's going to give me 24y plus 6x equals 360. Or what we really had, we can switch the order, 6x plus 24y ViewSonic equals 360. Okay? So that's the answer to number 1. Okay, now I've cleared the board and we're going to look at number 2. Use Carlos and Clarita's methods to write the equation for the boundary line for the startup constraint. Okay, well, it's easiest for me to start with Carlos. It costs $32 for each cat and $80 for each dog. Remember that cats are x in this chapter. So 32x plus 80y has to equal $1,280. That's our cost constraint line. Okay? Now, how can I turn that into a y equals? That's really all we're asked to do. So that's what I'm going to do for 3 and 4. Okay? Well, we're going to subtract 32x. We want to get y by itself. And you get 80y is negative 32x plus 1280. Okay? Divide each side by 80. You got to divide everything over here by 80. And let's see what we get. Negative 32 divided by 80. Well, let's see. That's going to simplify to negative 2/5. Okay? 1280 divided by 80. 16. So here we have the standard form, and we have the way that we like it, which is the slope-intercept form. Okay? And that gets us through the first 2 pages. Now we're finishing up the notes, and we're going to do a couple homework problems. In addition to writing the equation for the boundary lines, Carlos and Clarita needed to graph their lines on the coordinate grid. Carlos' equations are written in slope-intercept form, as we've stated. Clarita's equations are written in standard form, and they're both linear. Okay? How might Carlos use his slope-intercept form to plot 2 points? Okay, this is important. Let me get a graph up from Desmos real quick. Alright, so we busted out a little grid here. We're going to do, obviously both of these lines are the same, but I'm going to show you how I would graph this one in red. First, I would start by putting in a 0 for x and placing my y-intercept on the graph at 15. Okay? Then, since it's a multiple of a fourth, I would pick some number, like let's say 40, because that's an easy number to take a fourth of. So if I put in a 40, negative 1/4 of 40 is negative 10, plus 15 is 5. Let's see. And then I could connect those 2 lines, those 2 dots, to form a line. Okay, so that would be the way I would do it in slope-intercept form. Now, if I wanted to do if I wanted to do standard form, you always put in a 0 for x and a 0 for y and find the missing one. So if I put in a 0 for x, I get 24y equals 360. 360 divided by 24 is 15. So again, you got 0 plus 24y equals 360. Divided side by 24, and you get y equals 15. Now, if you put in a 0 for y, you get 6x equals 360, and you get x equals 60. Aha! So there is another way we could graph this line. Put on 0, 15, 60, 0, and that is how you graph a line in standard form. You graph its intercepts. Notice this line is the exact same line as this line. It's very important that you guys understand that there are many different ways, infinitely actually, many ways to express an equation for the exact same line. Okay, so now let's take that into practice on this one. This is from your homework. So again, put in a 0 for x and find y. Put in a 0 for y and find x. So if you put in a 0 for x, you get negative 2y equals 10. Divide each side by negative 2, and you get y is negative 5. Okay? If you put in a 0 for y, you get, so let's see, the y-intercept is 0, negative 5. The x-intercept, well, you get 5x equals 10. Draw a little, divide each side by 5, and you get x equals 2. I encourage you guys to figure these out in your head whenever you can. So 2 comma 0 is here, 0 comma negative 5 is there, and there's our line. Okay? Let's do number 6. So again, put in a 0 for x, see what happens. Let's see, you get negative 6y is 24. Divide each side by negative 6, and you get y is negative 4. So 0 comma negative 4 is our y-intercept. To find our x-intercept, put in a 0 for y. 3x is 24, x is 8. That's the best straight line I've ever drawn. Give it up for Mr. Ray. Boom!